Appreciate
Hey,
you guys waiting a little bit longer there. We're just trying to get everything tidied up and go over everything before we let you all in. So thanks for hanging on for just a second. But yeah, I wanted to kind of squash something before we even got started here. I think there's a couple people in here, or at least one that's on this call that might know you. Eric, Kaelan, you guys know each other then?
Yeah, man, we ran track together at OU.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What
That's
events did
awesome.
both of you guys run?
I did the long jump. Eric, go ahead.
5,000 and 10,000 meters. So a lot of laps around the track.
Nice. Okay, cool. I know Garen and Brandon, I think you guys both did track as well, right?
And then Brandon, Brandon and I have been chatting.
Nice.
Yeah, Brandon and I were both decathletes.
There we
Okay.
go.
Nice. What was I've already asked Brandon what his favorite event was, but what was yours?
Oh, I liked the pole vault and the javelin. Those are probably my top two. So chucking a spear and jumping high in the air, that's a lot of fun.
I was always scared of the pole vault, man. I was like, I always had this fear that I was just going to fall the wrong way, fall on the side. Yeah.
Yep, happened many times, but good coaches, I guess. You're all right.
Yep. They catch you when you fall. What's going on, Brandon?
How's it going, man? Sorry, I had myself on mute.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Nice to finally meet you.
You too, man.
Yeah.
Excited to learn from you tonight.
Let's
Thanks
do
for joining
it.
us.
Yeah.
I appreciate everybody getting into the call. For those who don't know, I know Kaelan knows quite a few of you in our community, which is awesome. Just a little rundown for who's new on the call. I always like to kind of just start off that way. So typically with these things, what we do for everybody is we hold these, try to do at least 2 a month with a guest. It's somebody else in the Salesforce industry. And tonight's episode, we have Kaelan with us, who's awesome on the marketing side, has really just pioneered a lot of things over there. Marketing champion in 2021, has some awesome stuff he's going to share with us tonight. And what we do is obviously everybody in our community is all over the world, and we all know you're in different time zones and it's not realistic for everybody to show up. So we do record this, everything gets saved. We post all like our chat stuff over into our community. And then this recording is posted to YouTube, maybe a week, 2 weeks after the event as well, once we do the post-production stuff. So all of it will be recorded for you guys to watch back if you need to. If there is any good stuff you guys want to refer back to after the live chat, we can do that. And then the last call out is we have our chat. So our chat here really, like, the ultimate goal for the community is just so that you guys are engaging with whoever our guest is. You're asking the questions, you're taking the time to ask the things you want to know. As I always say, I'm always happy to talk with Kaelan here, and I do have questions and somewhat of a guide of where we can go with that. But at the same time, this is for you guys to get a better perspective, a perspective that's not mine, from somebody else, another top tier industry leader, and their perspective on Salesforce and the things that they've done to find success. And that's really the point of this. Obviously, you guys have myself all day, every day in the community to tell you whatever it is that you want to hear. So we try to use that time to do that. So feel free to open up your chat on Zoom. We have our moderators, Brandon and Garen, that will help us pop in links if you guys reference things and answer small questions if they're there. But really, like I said, engage in there. Feel free to ask Kaelan or myself questions that you want to be answered. And if you'd like to come off of mute and ask Kaelan yourself, you're more than welcome to do that as well. So without further delay here, I'm going to give some time back over to Kaelan, and he's going to give us a brief introduction and background of his Salesforce skills and where he fits into our industry. So Kaelan, you want to kind of take it away with that?
Sure. Thank you for that, Jordan.
You bet.
So I'm just going to start with my my background and how I got started in Marketing Cloud. So honestly, I was a Salesforce admin. Like I was saying a little earlier, I went to OU. I thought I was going to do data science. And the only reason why I did data science was A, they said you could have a starting salary of $120,000 a year, and B, you could work from home. And that was all I needed. I was like, let's do it. So I basically jumped in, applied to the master's program for that. My undergrad was in economics, and I was way in over my head. These guys were like sleeping in the middle of class and answering the right questions. And I'm like taking voracious notes and still getting things wrong. So I'm like, what in the world am I doing? Where am I at? I'm trying to learn SQL. I'm trying to learn all this coding, R, these algorithms, and I had no idea what I was doing. And at the time, I was dating a girl who I was on spring break playing NBA 2K, if anybody knows that game, playing NBA 2K on spring break 2017. And her mom comes into the game room and is like, hey, I know you're looking for an internship, but my friend does Salesforce and you might want to try that out. And I'm like, I'm good. I don't want to do sales. And so I blew it off, and she's like, I don't think it's sales. I think you can also do stuff in tech, but maybe just talk to her. So I'm like, just thinking, I don't have an internship. This is my last semester. I'm about to graduate from my master's. Maybe I should just try it. And so I talked with her friend. Her friend ends up convincing me Salesforce is the way to go, because she's like, you also get to work from home and you make just as much money as someone who is an R or a data scientist. And I'm like, all right, sign me up. And so long story short, I get an internship. That's my intro to the internship. I'm commuting every single day in Dallas, Texas, which if anybody is familiar with the area, it's like a 50-minute drive from Plano to Irving, Texas. And I'm driving a stick shift in the summer every single day. And I'm like, what did I sign myself up into? I thought it was all work from home. So fast forward, I do that internship. I get a job, land a job at Love's Travel Stops in Oklahoma City, and was working as a Salesforce admin after that summer of 2017. And 2 weeks in, I would say, my manager comes to me and says, Kaelan, do you want to learn Marketing Cloud? And I'm like, I guess, I don't know what that is. And she gives me access to the system, just viewer access. I try to learn it. I had no idea what I was doing. The guy that was there before, he left. I had nobody. And that's what started where I'm at today, because I was in the position that pretty much everybody in the ecosystem was in, which is, where do I get started? What am I looking at? And how do I add value to the company by using the system? So it was this super long learning curve of nobody was telling me how to use the system. It was just go in there and do this. And I'm like, I'm going to break the system if I do something in here. And so I ended up, they finally found somebody to kind of coach me, who they brought in, who was experienced in Marketing Cloud. Big shout out to Natasha for that. She spent a lot of hours coaching me up, teaching me how to use the system. And we ended up using everything in Marketing Cloud. So we were using mobile push, mobile connect, which is like all the text messaging, email messaging, mobile app messaging, everything like that, Marketing Cloud Connect. And I was like, okay, I think I've learned everything I need to learn. So I applied for a consultant position based out of San Diego. And, finally was able to work remotely, moved to San Diego. And that's really where I started this whole journey. Something hit me when I was in San Diego and said, give back to the community the things you didn't know how to do. So I created my very first course, and it was just basically a walkthrough of the entire system of Marketing Cloud. So if you've ever found me on Udemy or anything like that, that was my first course that I've ever created. And it was just me, just in the most monotone voice possible, just walking you through the system, just saying, here's what this is, here's what that is. A lot of people have responded to that course on Udemy and said, this sucks. But I'm like, hey, it's better than what I had. So, at least you got something. And so as time went on, working as a consultant, basically tell myself in the middle of the pandemic, when, everything starts shifting, the whole world starts shifting, I lose my job as a consultant. And I vowed at that point to say, if there's anything I'm going to do in the future, it's going to be teaching a Salesforce or Marketing Cloud. I'm not going to consult anymore, which I don't know, maybe that's a vow I might, go back on. I don't know, whatever it is, but time goes on, you change your mind. But at that point, I just decided I'm going to teach. I'm going to teach Marketing Cloud. I'm going to help people, and I'm going to help my family. That was what my main goal was I'm going to show my mom, my sister, and my younger brother, who's only 11 at the time, how to do this without going to college, get basically all this money, work remotely without going $32,000 into student loan debt like I did. And so that was my main mission for when I started teaching. And honestly, from there, it's since 2020, summer of 2020, that has been literally all I've been doing. So since then, I've created tons of different courses. I've got my mom certified, got my sister certified, my best friend certified, plus tons of other people, help them get jobs. And that leads us to where we're at today. So it's been a journey. It has definitely been a long road, multiple years. So that leads me to where I'm at today. So hopefully, after you kind of got my background, that kind of gives you some sort of content as far as questions you might want to ask me. But I'm going to stop there and hand it back over to Jordan, see if anybody else has any questions, but that's a little bit about me. So thank you for listening.
That was an excellent introduction, honestly. Really well thought out, tells us a lot about the context, where you went, some cool pieces in there about like your Udemy course and the way you tried to attack that, which is such a little funny thing there too, that anybody's going to give you negative feedback. Cause I feel the same way, where if I ever get negative feedback when I'm trying to help people, I'm just like, all I'm trying to do is just help people. I'm just putting something out there. You don't like it, scroll on. So kind of a funny attitude that sometimes people take with that. But awesome to see you take the steps to do it, because it is one of those as well, where it does take, like Brandon said, a lot of guts to do it and put yourself out there. And not everybody's super comfortable recording themselves on camera and posting it to the internet. So good, kudos for that. I guess my first question, while we're waiting for some other ones to roll in, is you had some ideas of like where you wanted to go beforehand, and you gave us some context about your internship. How about like the Marketing Cloud specifically though? I know you got into some consulting and things like that you mentioned, but where did that kind of play in? And was that like something that you were targeting from the get-go of, I want to do that niche, or did it just kind of happen to go that way for you?
So you know how the old, I don't know if there's a saying for this, but it's kind of like the reward pleasure type of thing, where it's like the more you get rewarded for something, the more you just keep going towards it and you keep doing it. So this is what my experience was. Now, like I said, I was really driven by the work from home and work remotely and make a lot of money type of thing at the beginning. And when I started off in Marketing Cloud, I started seeing these little perks. I was like, how am I getting these little tiny benefits that everybody else at my company is not really experiencing? So everybody at my company was like a Salesforce admin, a developer, and I'm just this guy over here in Marketing Cloud. And my company's like, hey, we're going to send you to Los Angeles to take this Marketing Cloud class because we have an extra spot for a training. And I'm like, dude, I get to go to Los Angeles? Let's go. It's like in the middle of January in Oklahoma City where it's 20 degrees, LA's 65 and sunny. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. So I go out there for a week. I take a class. I end up actually catching the Amtrak train down to San Diego from LA to see my best friend. And I'm able to still kind of get some work done. And it was at that moment that I was like, okay, I can actually get the job done and kind of am getting some of these benefits. Then my company sent me to Chicago for Salesforce Connections, which if you've never heard about Salesforce Connections, it's like Dreamforce, but for marketing, like Pardot, Marketing Cloud, Commerce Cloud, but it's always in Chicago. So they put me up in downtown Chicago. I'm getting a stipend. I'm like going, it's like my track days, but without having to compete. So I'm out there like, just enjoying the city on my company's dime, just going out to eat at these restaurants, having deep dish pizza, going to this amazing event with all these, cool things happening. And so that was the second thing. And then I also went to Dreamforce in San Francisco. So I started seeing kind of these, just little benefits of, hey, go learn this thing about Marketing Cloud because nobody knows how to do this. Or we want you to learn this because you're the only person at the company who knows how to do it and who knows anything about Marketing Cloud. Or I was getting brought in on meetings with, you know, like VPs of sales at Salesforce or consultants. And I'm like, why am I getting preferential treatment? And it clicked. And it was like, because I'm the only one doing Marketing Cloud. And so as I started doing that, you know, I'm starting to learn more about the system. And then it's just like kind of like a snowball effect. And it's just kind of working on itself where it's like, okay, you're learning more and we're giving you more opportunity. You're learning. And then it's just like this wheel that keeps getting bigger. And as time just went on, I was just like, okay, we already have enough people who are doing Salesforce admin work. Let me just focus solely on Marketing Cloud, go all in on this. And I haven't regretted it since. So that was kind of why I stuck with Marketing Cloud. And then just since then, like job opportunities, my negotiating power, the ability to just basically work at a company and actually feel valued because you're the only person who knows how to do the thing that you know you're doing is honestly another one of those kind of perks and benefits you can't really explain too much, but you feel every single day. So that's really my reason for why I stuck with it and why I'm honestly sticking with it, aside from the fact that now I'm able to help so many people get in. So hopefully that answers.
Yeah, that definitely answers it. And I like that you called out that last piece, actually, was what I wanted to highlight. The feeling that you get. I think that is overlooked a lot of times till you're in that moment and you feel that yourself and you're like, man, this is awesome. Because I've had that at early in my career when I got hired on as an admin in certain spots where it was a startup. So it's like, I'm kind of the first Salesforce guy and you just feel super exclusive, you know, and that is definitely a big perk of the job because you're just like, oh yeah, like job security and people rely on me. And it is nice to kind of be that guy, you know, that they have to go to for that thing. So I like that piece that you called out too. I know Brandon had a question. So Brandon, feel free to jump off mute and ask.
Yeah. So first of all, thanks so much, man. I really appreciate it. So kind of in the whole process, I've been in the ecosystem now for a little over a year, still looking to land my first role. And it just seems like any kind of job board stuff you pop up there, like every Marketing Cloud is like $140,000, $150,000, $160,000. And I mean, from a demand standpoint, I mean, is there as much demand as it seems like? Because I feel like every mom and dad and kid and grandmother and grandfather are getting their admin certification. So it's kind of, that doesn't seem as special or as needed or as wanted anymore. And, you know, I know personally in the last two kind of, and I'm kind of layering on multiple questions here, so I apologize. I'm just trying to get them out. But I know going into like the interview process that I'm in right now, and then one I ended up not taking previously, both of these companies were like, we're going all in on Marketing Cloud. We have no idea what we're doing. Like, is that kind of the norm from what you're seeing? Like, there's a ton of demand just because nobody knows what they're doing and nobody's been trained. Is that essentially kind of where we're at right now?
Yeah, so I would say you'll see about 70% of the time when you're doing an interview for Marketing Cloud, the person who's interviewing you has no idea how the system works. So they've never played around in the system. They don't really even know what you're talking about. And I know that this is not me trying to like say cheat the system in any way possible. So anybody in the future recording or anything like that, leave a comment. We can talk about it. But it is almost a cheat code looking for Marketing Cloud jobs, because even if you just sound like you know what you're doing, people are like, yeah, come on, we need you. Like, it's that in demand because it is like, it's so locked down. Like, it's just like it's a platform that's hard to get your hands on. That's the hardest part about it is like, how do you get your hands on the system unless you're working for a company who's doing it, or you're doing some sort of volunteer project, or you take some sort of Salesforce class, or maybe you just kind of watch my YouTube videos or watch my courses or something like that. So that's the hard part. But I will say this is what I tell people all the time, is learn how the system works, even without getting your hands on in it. So I'll try to give you a good example. It's like, if I was to say, go and learn how to change an engine on a car, you might not have an engine that you actually change like in person, hands-on, but you watch a really thorough course about someone changing an engine, watch them change the engine and re-watch that over and over again. And that person tells you step by step how to do it. You're going to gain some sort of knowledge around how to change an engine. You might not have had hands-on experience, but when someone asks you about a carburetor or an ignition coil or a piston firing, right, or a misfire or something like that, you're going to have somewhat of the knowledge to be able to talk about that. And then let's just say I said, hey, go and study for a certification on changing engines. If you study everything it takes to actually change that engine, you're going to know so much more than the general public. And it's something I read from Tim Ferriss, the 4-Hour Workweek. If anybody has ever listened or read anything by Tim Ferriss, it's Tim Ferriss says, to become an expert, you just have to be perceived as an expert. You don't necessarily have to have done everything you think an expert should be doing. And that's what I try to tell people all the time about Marketing Cloud, is you just have to come off enough to be perceived as the expert in Marketing Cloud. Because even if you just know what's going on and you've seen things in the system, you can talk about it in so many interviews. And honestly, I've met a lot of people who have never even touched Marketing Cloud, who I've taught how to use the system, and they've gotten Marketing Cloud jobs just because they knew more than the actual interviewer, and they were able to answer those types of questions because they knew what they were talking about. Now, once they get their hands on, like their hands in the system, they come back through, watch the courses that I've put together, understand, the materials, and then actually build that stuff out. But to answer your question, Brandon, I would say 70% of the time, you're going to see people who have no idea what they're actually really asking you for. They're just a hiring manager that has been put on this assignment to interview you. And if you can get your foot in the door and really be perceived like, hey, I know what I'm talking about, you're going to get, like, you mentioned the $160,000 jobs. I don't know if you're going to jump right into a $160,000 job right off the bat, but every person I have personally coached up to get a Marketing Cloud job, and I'm not going to say who the people are, but nobody has gotten a job less than $110,000. So that's my number. That's like just my personal coaching, just because I've got just the mindset coaching that I teach people, which is like, this is how you need to go in, and this is how you need to negotiate. This is how you need to think about the questions. Because if you think about, and Jordan's probably said this a lot before, is a lot of interviews are the same questions. So you take enough interviews, you're going to see all the same questions kind of repeated over and over again. Go back and study the material for the questions you're seeing and get coached up on that. And by the time you take your next interview, it's just kind of, it's a matter of, I know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a lot more that goes into it, but I will say there's a lot of opportunity out there. Hopefully that answers that. I know I'm a little long-winded today.
That answer that for you, Brandon? Okay, cool. Another just like little thing that Kaelan has already mentioned, going along with this with your guys' jobs, and we have talked about this quite a few times with other guests and in our course as well. But if you haven't noticed already, there's just like a lot of little things that I've personally been like looking for, just jumping on this call with Kaelan without him saying really anything. If you haven't paid attention to his body language, the way that he's been talking to us, his tone, how excited he was on the phone, all that stuff in a Zoom interview, that right off the bat, I don't know a ton about Kaelan before we got on this call, to be honest with you. I've chatted with him a few times. That already made me feel like he was an expert just doing that stuff. I was like, okay, well, we're going to have an awesome Zoom meeting because this guy's ready to go. It's like, it just showcases in a lot of the little things you do as well. So as we always talk about the technical, and Kaelan touched on this too, is the technical is important. You do need to know how to change the engine if that's what your job is going to be, right? But at the same time, going through and knowing the jargon and presenting yourself and the soft skills, I always like to say to try to double down on those, because anybody and everybody can get out there on Trailhead, take certs, and get the technical side. The technical side, we trick ourselves and say that that's the most difficult part of it, when in reality, in my opinion, the soft skill and nailing that stuff down is what sets you apart and the more difficult part to master. But once you have that, then the technical is just like, okay, all I got to do now is, read up on the jargon, read up on the certification, and get that technical side nailed into place. So I just want to call that out before we moved on to the next question here, because he's been killing that since we've been on this call. So I just wanted to point that out. The other side of this that we wanted to kind of dive into. So, like we've said, with our audience, 95% of people, I would say, in our community are people that are probably working another job right now. They're in a different industry. They've heard all the glitz and glam about Salesforce and want to get into it. And one thing we don't talk a lot about is the marketing side of it. So right now you've kind of highlighted two things, which I'm positive caught their attention. One is like the starting money from the people that you've coached up and where they're starting. A 6-figure salary starting out anywhere is insane. And then the second part is like kind of that job security. Is there any difference in your opinion as far as like the amount of work that you have to put into it? Is there a difference between you would have to know the admin side before you do the marketing piece of it, or can I just jump in if I'm brand new into the marketing side and just go that route from the get-go?
Yeah, so I'll say from my experience, it's kind of a catch-22 for me to say you can just jump right into Marketing Cloud, because the reason I say you can is because I've coached people on how to do this. Like, I've actually seen it work multiple times, like dozens and dozens of times, where they just jump into Marketing Cloud and they get the Marketing Cloud admin cert, and then they just go and get a job. It's just, obviously you're going to have to study for the cert, then do the interview prep, get, like you said, the soft skills, and go get that Marketing Cloud job. But I personally can't really say that's how I did it, because I didn't do it like that. I did it where I was a Salesforce admin at first, and then I did that internship. I was working as an admin for a long time, and then I became accidental Marketing Cloud admin. Everybody's like, here's the word accidental admin. But to answer your question, Jordan, you can absolutely jump straight into Marketing Cloud. And a lot of people think their first cert has to be the Salesforce admin cert, or platform app builder cert, or a developer cert, and then they need to go to Marketing Cloud. It's absolutely not required. So there's not a prerequisite for you to do Salesforce admin and then do Marketing Cloud. You got to think about the, if you've ever seen that lady on the front sales page of Salesforce, where there's like customer 360 and there's all those different clouds. So think of each one of those different clouds as its own path you can take in Salesforce. So one of those clouds is Sales Cloud. Now, inside of Sales Cloud, you've got little raindrops, right? And one of the raindrops is the Salesforce admin certification, then the platform app builder certification, then the Sales Cloud consultant certification, then the developer certification, right? So take that cloud away and let's go to Marketing Cloud. And in Marketing Cloud, that's a whole different pathway. So there's 4 certs. Actually, there's technically 8 certifications, but we can talk about those other 4. But the 4 certs you're going to see most often are the Marketing Cloud Email Specialist cert, which I used to recommend that to be the first cert most people get. Then you got the Marketing Cloud Admin cert, and then you have the Marketing Cloud Developer cert, and then you have the Marketing Cloud Consultant cert. Now, the developer and consultant cert, those are more advanced certifications. The email specialist or the Marketing Cloud admin cert are one, you just pick whichever one of those 2 you want to get first. Now I'm kind of gearing towards get the Marketing Cloud admin cert first, and then decide if you want the email specialist cert after that. But to be honest, just like Salesforce admin, you only need 1 cert to get started in that specific cloud. Basically what I would say is you don't need Salesforce admin to jump into Marketing Cloud, because it's a completely different cloud, completely different pathway. And to be honest, some companies are, they're not even using Sales Cloud. So if they might be using a different CRM, but they use Marketing Cloud. So it would be irrelevant for you to know Sales cloud, Salesforce admin. But I will say, as a caveat to that, if you know Salesforce admin and you know Marketing Cloud, there's probably honestly not any job you can't get in the Salesforce ecosystem, because people are this is how my experience works. So my first consultancy job, I was applying for a Marketing Cloud admin or Marketing Cloud consultant job. But I was competing with somebody who just knew Marketing Cloud. And the person who was hiring me said, we are hiring you because you knew Salesforce admin stuff and you know Marketing Cloud. Basically, they're getting a double whammy. They're getting two people in one by doing that. So you will see those scenarios where if you did start off in Salesforce and then you decide to make that transition over into Marketing Cloud, that's just going to strengthen your case so much more. So there's 3 routes you can take. You can take just, or 2 routes. You can take the Salesforce route and then go Marketing Cloud, or you can just jump into Marketing Cloud. So hopefully that answers that.
Yeah, that does. And I appreciate the context behind it too, and breakdown for a lot of the folks probably wondering the same thing you just brought up, which is, are they different? Is it the same thing kind of mixed together? Is there just a little bit different here or there? So I think that was great context. Garen, I know you've had your hand up for a second, so feel free to jump off and ask.
Yeah, I know, because I just kind of dove into all your stuff the past 2 days, but maybe for anybody that hasn't, looking at the Marketing Cloud, you're like, man, I've never been in marketing before. I don't have any marketing experience. Any tips for them, or anything around that just thought process?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't have a background in marketing either when I got started in Marketing Cloud. So I was really confused about how the sales cycle worked. I was confused about how marketing fits in with sales. I didn't know what a marketing qualified lead was, MQL or anything like that, sales qualified lead, SQL or anything. So I would go to these conferences and I was like, what are you guys talking about? And, you're not going to go to a conference and be like, hey, what did you mean by MQL when you were on stage? You're not going to ask that. But I will say there was a turning point when I started doing, I started taking ClickFunnels courses. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of ClickFunnels by Russell Brunson, but I will tell you what, let me, actually, I'm not even going to go and find it, but I've got his whole trilogy of books. I've bought all of his courses. I've watched all of his YouTube videos, and this guy will teach you marketing. If you want to learn anything about what marketing is and how it works, just literally buy a ClickFunnels book, .com secrets. This is I wish I was an affiliate for ClickFunnels because I tell people it all the time. But ClickFunnels will change your life if you want to learn marketing in a simple, easy to understand terms. And honestly, ClickFunnels is what taught me how to actually teach Marketing Cloud. Because before I started doing any ClickFunnels courses, I was super technical. Like a lot of guys you see, I was literally just reposted a post by Jordan today about keeping it simple. If people that are teaching you stuff can't keep it simple and they use a lot of technical jargon, don't listen to those people, because either A, they're trying to make themselves seem a lot smarter than they actually are. B, they don't know how it actually works, so they're trying to trick you. Or C, they just really don't know how to teach. And I wouldn't want to be coached by somebody that doesn't really know how to teach. But ClickFunnels broke it down so easy for how marketing actually works. I literally just watched a couple of those videos, read a couple of books, and I became an expert, I would say, in my eyes, at the basics of digital marketing. So for somebody who doesn't know how marketing works, if you want a crash course on how it actually works, do either the One Funnel Away challenge, which if you do that, you'll probably have a course making you $5,000 to $10,000 a month just by doing that, because that course is better than a master's program. B, you'll have you'll understand how digital marketing works and its timeless principles. So that's my honest feedback, authentic feedback. That's what I learned how to do. And it was all just ClickFunnels, honestly. So you don't need to take any courses. You don't need to go back to college. You don't need to do anything spectacular. Buy a $5 book, and I can share the link for you. And it's just .com secrets. .com. And you can literally just go to this website, buy this guy's book it's actually free. You just pay for shipping and handling. Read that book and you'll be caught up on marketing. That's it. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That is something I honestly want to get a lot better at, just in general, like you said, the marketing side of things. It's one of those where I feel like I've read a lot of stuff on it, but I've never actually just narrowed it down like you just said. So that's a really great, valuable resource. I know who Russell Brunson is and everything. I see him pop up all the time. I know ClickFunnels, but I've never really tried to like dive into his material. So that's awesome to hear that you've had a really good experience with all his stuff. I got to check it out. So we kind of talked about some of the important skills you felt like there were. That summed it up, I think, excellent, of whether or not someone needed the background or not. Maybe something else that I tend to get a lot of questions on in the community here is, it's more for admin work, since that's what I do, or consulting work. But typically what they are usually interested in is, again, a lot of our people are in a different industry. They're trying to move into Salesforce. And something that's always a little frightening is when you're making that shift, it's like, okay, cool. I get certified. I get these skills, but then like, how do I actually scope out stuff? Like, how do I actually get a ticket from somebody and then know what to do with it? Do you have any tips or tricks on like what you do specifically when you get a ticket, how you break that ticket down and decide what needs to be done?
Yeah, and that's a very good question. So it's funny you asked me that, because I'm about to write a blog post on how to gather business requirements. So I just went through a session with that today with some people, but basically what you want to think about it is like, you want to think about it like this. You have two sides of the coin, right? You have one side of the coin, which is a business person who has no idea how the system works. And they're just like, I need you to do this. Best example is this. I'm going to go back to an example I told a guy a couple months ago. Think about if you're a landscaper, right? Think about if you're in landscaping and somebody comes to you and says, hey, I need you to build me a swimming pool in my backyard. Or I need you to build a swimming pool, jacuzzi, and I want a really nice green yard with cool flowers in the back. And I want it to just be an oasis when I step outside. So think about if you're a landscaper. You tell me what would be the first, and I'm not going to answer this. I'm going to let someone come off of mute here and answer this for me. So if you're a landscaper and a client comes to you and says, I need you to build a pool, jacuzzi, I need you to also make sure my backyard is an oasis, and I want this done by whatever time frame. What's the first question you're going to ask if you're a landscaper? Somebody just come off of mute and tell me.
What's your budget?
Number one, let's write it in the chat. Write it in the chat. The top 5 questions you would ask, or top 3. We'll just say top 3 to save a little bit of time. First question is, what's your budget?
Time frame. When do you
What's
want it
your
done?
time frame? And then next question. Specific question. So budget, what's your budget? What's your time frame? What's the third question?
Do you have like drawings, plans, specifically what it is you want to build?
Do you
At
have
least in your
drawings
mind.
planned? How deep do you want the pool? Right?
Define oasis. Like what are those specific things you want on the plans? I guess would be more specific. Yeah.
Yep. What does oasis mean to you? Right. So think about the natural questions you're going to ask somebody if they say, I want a pool built in the backyard, right? These are questions as like you almost have to turn into a kid again and say, why? Or what do you want? What do you want here? What do you want there? How deep does the pool need to be? How wide does the pool need to be? How long does the pool need to be? What type of water do you want? Do you want salt water or do you want chlorine? What sort of color do you want the pool to be? Where do you want the pool located at? What do you mean by oasis, right? And then what sort of plants do you want? What color fence do you want? How tall do you want the fence to be, right? You have to start mapping out what the backyard is going to look like, right? So in your mind, questions are just going to naturally pop up, pop, right? Now, let's take it one step further. You ask this person all these questions, right? You get a blueprint built out. You get how big you want the pool to be, what the type of grass you want to put into this, into the backyard, the type of plants, how tall you want the fence to be. And then what's the next natural step you want to take after you get them to, you get to that, you ask all the questions. There's an intricate step that not a lot of people think about, but think about it like this. You've written down every single question that you have for this client of yours that you want to build a pool for and build a backyard for. The first thing you want to do is you want to keep track of all those questions in a document somewhere. Because the next time you go and you build a pool for a client, you're going to ask those same exact questions. Those questions aren't going to change because you're just building pools for people from here on out. And now it's just a template. So think about if I'm a real estate developer or I'm someone who's a landscaper, I'm not going to ask different questions every time I build a pool because that would cost me too much time and money. I'm going to ask the same questions. You're going to have to run through this checklist, and then you're going to have to answer those questions before I get started and I give you a quote on how much this pool is going to cost. So the person who's actually running the business is just following a templated checklist of questions they've already asked before. Now, the next step, the next thing you want to do after you get that is you want to make sure that the client actually signs off before you begin working, because you don't want to go buy bricks, you don't want to go buy stone, you don't want to go buy all that material and the grass and all that. And then the client's like, the heck, this isn't what I agreed to. You want to get it in writing, get it in signing, like this is exactly what I want. And I agree with you and I'm giving you my stamp of approval right here, preferably by like a notary public, somebody who actually is like verified that says both of these parties agreed, right? So take the concept of the pool and let's turn that into technology. Now, instead of you being a pool maker, you're a system maker inside of a technology system. So take that same concept. If someone says, I need you to build out a flow, or I need you to build out a process and process builder, or I need you to build out an automation and automation studio, a marketing cloud tool, you have this set of questions. Okay, what does the flow need to do? When do you need this flow built by? What? And then as all those questions are naturally arising, I'm going to encourage everybody to just be a kid. I'll have all those questions just pop up and ask them as they come up. And as they answer, you're going to get more and more questions pop up in your mind. And then you're going to have a set checklist. And then you're going to ask those same questions for every single project. Now, the trick is your first project's not going to be good. I'll be honest, unless you have a solution architect or a technical architect that's like telling you what to ask and like in the meetings and you're writing down every question they're asking. You're probably not going to be that good because you've never built a pool before, right? You've never done this before. But after that first project, you're going to come back, you're going to lick your wounds, you're going to realize, hey, I sucked at this one, but I'm getting better at it, right? Next project, more questions. You're building on top of that list. You're seeing which questions matter, which don't. So that's my piece of advice to everybody starting off. Hopefully you are working with a technical architect, a solution architect. At a lot of consulting companies, they already have like business requirements documents that it's basically like the list of questions that they would ask a client given a project. But there's also places that don't have that. So my biggest piece of advice for you, and the blog post I'm writing is about that specifically. And I've actually built a business requirements gathering document for marketing cloud projects. And I'm just going to give that away. So whenever you read that, you can just download it. But I wish a lot of consultant companies would share that material and just give that to the general public, but they try to gatekeep a lot of times and, which I don't know why, it's just questions, but hopefully that answers. And hopefully really one thing I try to do for a lot of people is instead of like saying, here's what to ask, I try to do sessions like this where I say, I want you to answer, tell me what you would ask in that scenario. And then you come up with the list yourself. So I think it's more important that you think through that type of scenario, right? Because it's going to just empower you when you go on client site. And it's okay to look silly for your first implementation. That's all right. But the trouble would be is if you don't learn anything from that first implementation, you don't figure out which questions to ask in the next one. So I hope that helps. I saw a lot of stuff show up in the chat. I don't know if that helped you or not, but that's an exercise I try to get people to kind of see when it comes to the questions they would ask at the beginning of a project.
Yeah, it was excellent. I wanted to say, I think the biggest one for me was just trying to be childlike, like you said. When you think of like a kid and you tell a kid that you're going to go do something, as adults, we all kind of jump to these conclusions and assumptions, and we don't ask the questions, like, oh, we got to go to the store. The kid's going to be the one to be like, well, why do we got to go to the store? What do we need at the store? What store are we going to? Who's going to take me there? So it's kind of getting into that mindset a little bit. Like you said, I like how you put it that way, of kind of being childlike when they give you that request, to be like, okay, let me break it down like a kid would that doesn't know anything, doesn't understand. So I make sure I get that vision out of their head and I can see it on paper. So I think that's always the hardest part. It's like they have this vision, but they're not going to use vivid language to describe it to you. It's all in their head, and they're like, oasis, like you said. It's like, okay, well, what's an oasis? Because for me, an oasis means this, and I don't know if that means oasis to you. It could be something different. So I really liked that. Vera, I know you've had your hand up forever over here, so I'll let you come off mute and ask your question.
Hey, Kaelan, great to be able to talk to you and ask you a question. So you briefly mentioned how you've worked with technical or solution architects before. As far as I know, marketing specific certifications aren't necessary prerequisites to get an official technical architect title with Salesforce. I want to know, in your opinion, what do you think for someone who wants to become an architect in the future? What is the value of getting these market certifications?
Honestly, I would say the value, if you're trying to be a technical architect, the value really just honestly comes back to, it's kind of like a college degree, right? It's like an associate degree or a master's degree or an undergrad degree. It's just more saying like, I know the system. And it's almost in a way, it's like your reputation preceding you before you step into the room. That's what a cert really is at the end of the day. That's all a college degree really is also. It's just, without me talking to you, I have told you I've done my due diligence and I know what I'm talking about somewhat, right? And that's why Salesforce really cracks down on like the cheating and the dumps and everything. So they, that certification actually means something. But yeah, I would say the main thing is, and I also want to say one thing here. You can be quote unquote a technical architect in Marketing Cloud without having a technical architect certification. So that's something I also want to like tell everybody is the term technical architect, from what I've seen in the past, this might mean something different for everybody, but from what I've seen, technical architect means I know pretty much everything in that system. I know how to use Marketing Cloud from an admin standpoint. So from a core standpoint, I know how to use Marketing Cloud from a developer standpoint, and I can solution pretty much anything you ask me for and build that out. That's what I see when I see like a technical architect. Now, there's definitely the certification that proves you're a technical architect. But when I hear that word, I think of technical architect from a certified standpoint, but I also think of it from a job position standpoint. Like you're a technical Marketing Cloud architect, which means you know how to implement pretty much everything in the system. So hopefully that answers that one.
Yeah, I think that was great. Vera, did that answer your question? Yeah, cool. Yeah, like you said too, I like the idea on the technical architect as well, because sometimes that title, and I know it should hold a lot of weight, like you said, but at the same time, you kind of need to know what that means outside of just the certification, outside of just the name itself. So breaking it down that way too, where you're saying, okay, inside of Marketing Cloud or inside of the Financial Cloud or whatever it is that we're working in, I know the system well enough that where if you give me some type of problem, I know best practices, I know how it will work, and I have the best idea in mind for that specific problem of how we should solution that so we can scale your business, not run into errors, not have problems. So I like the way that you kind of broke that down.
Thank you.
Let's see where we're at with time. So we're about 8 minutes left in our meeting tonight with Kaelan. If you guys have any more questions, feel free to put them into the chat here. I feel like the majority of the ones that I wanted to try to get to were answered here. I think the kind of final, oh, here we go. We got Eric. Okay, let me, Eric, feel free to jump off. Let's have you ask your question.
All right, so hey, long time no see, Kaelan. It's been too long.
It's been a while, man. I think last time was what, early 2021?
Yeah, and while we were FaceTiming, like you were working on like some kind of online course, and yeah, you seem to be really in the zone.
Yes.
Yeah.
I remember that last conversation, man. Yeah, I was in the zone.
Yeah, so anyway, so you mentioned that now your passion is more into like teaching others, and you also said that you taught your mom and your sister and even your younger brother all Salesforce certifications. So pretty much for that, are you looking to do like Udemy courses or like one-on-one mentoring, or where are you looking to go with that?
Yeah, so honestly, actually here, I'm gonna share with you a lot of the courses. So, I mean, I'll be honest with you, and hopefully Udemy doesn't shadow ban me, but I really wouldn't care if they did, because I don't think they pay their content creators jack anything. But I will say that I'm not ever going to create another Udemy course again. So I have a website here, and all of the courses that I do create are going to go to, if you go to that website, it's going to be step number 4. It's going to be the career development program. And I'm just putting all of my courses into the career development program. And as of right now, I am actually making all of my courses free. So basically I want everybody, like I listen to Gary Vee a lot, and I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Gary Vee, but he basically is like, literally go in and set an atom bomb inside of the middle of the industry that you're in and give everything away for free that people are gatekeeping. And that's pretty much what my goal is to literally just set the world of Marketing Cloud aflame and literally just give everything away for free, disrupt the industry, and see where it goes from there. So
Nice.
you can check that out in the links I just sent you there. So I have a career development program where you can literally check out every single course I've ever made. As far as one-on-one coaching, group calls, kind of like this, that's going to be the next phase, because I'm just want to give everything away as far as like DIY stuff, watch all the videos, watch all the courses. And then anything that's kind of like, one-on-one sessions like this, boot camps and things like that. I'm actually strategizing how that's going to come together, but those will definitely be coming soon. Yeah, so be on the lookout for those. And, I'll let you know. If you're on the email list, you'll definitely get an update if you check out anything I'm putting out. But yeah, you can check out all the courses. They're all on there. None on Udemy are being updated. So that's the answer to that.
Awesome. Looking forward to it.
Yeah. I see. How can you repay? Just write a really good review and share it with everybody.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for asking your question there, Eric. Appreciate it. And while we're on that topic, since we only have 4 minutes left with you, Kaelan, is there anything outside of this that you want to take the time to plug or highlight as far as places that we can go and support you?
Yeah, I would just say, honestly, if you want to join my email list, like I'll just give you updates on basically if there's any new updates to the courses that you're joined in on. I'm constantly adding in new material. as time goes on. I'm doing a lot of new like interview prep stuff that's going to be added into the career development program. So if you want, just join the 3-day challenge. I would say start there. I've got a 3-day challenge that you can join, and it just basically will tell you about all the different salaries in Marketing Cloud, the different types of jobs, how Marketing Cloud projects work, how to set your LinkedIn up. So just join the mailing list. Honestly, that's my only request. Just join the mailing list, be an active subscriber, respond to my stuff, and stay interactive. And give me feedback. Like, that's the main thing I want, is just give me feedback. And just be interactive. Just share the content, share the stuff. If you're getting value out of it, at least share it with somebody else. So that's my shameless plug. And as time goes on, hopefully I give you enough value that you want to actually pay me for something. So
Yeah, I love it. We have your thing over here, so I'll make sure we share it in our community afterwards. Obviously, this is recorded. I'll plug it into the description of the thing on YouTube when we post this too, so that it's easy for people to access, and try to push as much traffic over there as we possibly can for you, so you can get some more feedback and reiterate the way that you want to.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate this call. These were amazing questions, by the way. Hopefully I can join back. I haven't had these types of engaging questions in a while, so feels good to be back.
It was awesome to have you here, and wanted to say the same. I appreciate everybody asking your questions in the chat with us. Join in tonight, and like we said, this will be recorded so you guys can watch it back. From here, Kaelan, how do you want us? So we're on your we have your website, we have like your 3-day challenge, your courses and all that. Is there another way that you'd prefer people to reach out if they do have questions?
Yeah, I would say, LinkedIn's a great way. I'm trying to honestly, this is just, coming from a content creator's perspective, trying to figure out a way to answer everybody's questions. It's very difficult when you've got, 600 messages in your inbox. So it's a little difficult, but I would say, if you do have a question, try to see if it has been answered on the Minute Admin blog post on the Minute Admin website. That's going to be probably the best place to find your answers. Just scroll through that. I'm putting together an FAQ doc. So it basically answers every question that I have ever received and ever am going to receive. And we'll see when this chat bot comes out on the website. If you have a question on that, you can definitely ask, but you can still send me a message on LinkedIn. Sign up for the email list, and that would probably be the easiest way for you to respond to me. Is if you get an email that is valuable to you, just hit me with the response, and then I'll be checking my email and give a response to you on that. So, but yeah, FAQ doc is coming soon. So if there is a question, look for that, because I don't know if I can get back to you that same day.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I just want to make sure that we put that in there in case people did want to ask more questions around marketing stuff after this. So really good to know. We'll respond there. And outside of this, if anybody has anything else, more than happy to direct you to the right places in case we need help on any of these links that were shared today. Other than that, thank you all for joining, and we'll talk with you all soon. See you guys.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Yep. Happy to help.
Hey, thank you, Kaelan.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Enjoy your weekend, by the way. Super close to it, so enjoy.
That's right.
Thanks,
man. It was awesome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, really enjoy it. You guys leave first.